Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody to the show. So today's topic is about journaling, and I think it's something that's important for everybody to do. I think it's something that allows everybody to step out of themselves and to hone in on what is actually going on inside of our brains. We have a lot of thoughts bouncing around every day, possibly every second, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of that. It's very easy to have a great idea, and then a couple minutes later, you get distracted by something, and then you're like, oh, what was that idea? You know, if you haven't written it down right away. I often think of the main character in Memento when the whole point of the plot is that he has short-term memory loss, and so he is there's a scene where the main character, played by Guy Pearce, is he's gotten some important information that he wants to hold on to, and he's in a room where there's no paper and there's no pens. He's trying to write it down before he forgets it. And to me, that encapsulates the world of being a writer and of being a creative person, is that you have these great ideas, and then you're like, oh no, I gotta write this down before I forget it. So journaling is a way in which you can not only take those little scribbles of ideas and start to formulate what they mean and why you had those thoughts, and kind of dig deep into what is actually going on behind the idea. But it's also a practical kind of routine that you can have to keep up the writing muscle. That's something that I usually use it for, is to make sure that I get in a certain amount of writing every day. And when I'm not working on a specific idea, I turn to journaling, because that's something I can fall back on, and that's something that I can it can be a guarantee that I will get in my pages every day. And so I just want to talk about that, because I know that journaling is kind of like this wide open interpretation, because you can pretty much do anything with it. People use bullet journals, and they use it to organize their day. Other people use it as a stream of consciousness. Some people use it as a way to document their feelings and their thoughts about certain things, to kind of track their life, so to speak, so that they could look back and see all these journal entries and see how they've grown over the years. So for me, I kind of had a love-hate relationship with writing things down, because it seemed like, especially without a computer, that my mind was working at this breakneck speed, and trying to write something down with a pen or a pencil onto a piece of paper. Just the mechanics of it, I was just too slow for what was going through my head. And then when I was able to switch to writing on a computer, that's when things really opened up for me. And I still have a bunch of handwritten stuff that I do go back to, and I see that even though I might not have gotten every single thought down on the page, that those entries were actually quite coherent, and I can go back to that time when I wrote it and remember what happened that day, or at least try to remember what was happening at the time of that journal entry. So I started really doing the handwritten journals, and I would try to do it at night, before going to bed, and I could never be consistent with that. And then, I would have like a bunch of journal entries, and then I would fall off for years, and then I would come back to the idea that, oh, that journaling, that was a good idea. I should come back to that. And then I'd start again, and then I'd fall off. And it wasn't until I started to get into the habit of writing in the morning that journaling started to really take shape for me. And I was able to have a time that I would show up in the morning, and if I had an idea, I would write that idea. But if I didn't have an idea, then I had nothing to write. And I was like, well, I don't want to stop writing just because I don't have an idea. I want to be able to show up every day and write down something. And so I started to come back to the idea of journaling. And it was actually very helpful because I was able to kind of express whatever anxieties I was going through, whatever worries, whatever like situation was just driving me mad that day. I was able to get it out onto the page, and then I could start my day fresh, knowing that I had gotten all of that gunk out of my system. And so it kind of started with doing the NaNoWriMo. And since NaNoWriMo in November, you don't have to write every day, but for me, it was helpful to start writing every day. And then when I didn't, quote unquote, win for the first year that I tried it back in 2017, I was determined to practice my getting in a word count and working up to getting like 1,000 words a day, or some days I got to like 2,000, even like 3,000, because I was just like on a roll with the story that I was writing. But I would, that's kind of like where it started. And then, so to practice that, I would start journaling, and it would be sometimes absolute nonsense where I was just talking about what I did the day before, and like I woke up and I was feeling groggy, and then I had some coffee, and then I did this, and then I did that. It was very, very much a like step by step of my day in order to get my word count in, and to practice getting a word count in every morning. And then from there, I started to really open up and start to express like thoughts and ideas, and it became a place in which I could rely upon if I was feeling stressed, that I could just put it onto the page. And so I really wanted to encourage anybody who's a creative person to have a space in which you can freely express your ideas in a jumble of just like, thought vomit on the page, so to speak. And I believe it's very helpful for just our mental health, for a routine, for just getting the bare minimum of a creative, goal, done early. If you end up writing in the morning, it's very helpful to just know that that if nothing else happens that day, at least you got some pages in, at least you got some words on the page, and that's something that's reassuring, and it's a good way to start the day off on a good foot. And also just to be more specific about it, like I like to write on a computer because it like I was saying before, like my thoughts are just coming at me like rapid fire sometimes, and to be able to like type it out, because I'd learned how to do proper typing, and so I use all my fingers on the keyboard, using the little knobs on the keyboard to to set where my hands are supposed to be, and I just start writing, and I can write way faster on a computer than I can doing the handwritten stuff. So, but I know some people love to just handwrite. In fact, some people just handwrite scripts, which it blows my mind, because I'm like, how can you just how do you have the patience to write, the characters' names over and over and over again, and to write out just all of these like details that would just drive me absolutely mad. Which I'm so glad that there's screenwriting software that I can like not have to think about typing out somebody character's name all the time. But yeah, some people love to handwrite, and that's awesome. I do handwrite some stuff every once in a while, but most of the stuff that I do is on the computer, and it just allows for this flow of the like consciousness, and just my thoughts kind of unravel really quickly, and if I'm working on like on a story idea, it allows it to flow so much smoother than writing with hand. And so yeah, if you aren't journaling, I really want to encourage you to try it. It's something that I mean, you don't have to be like doing it every day like I'm trying to do. I kind of am a creature of habit, and I like to keep the habit going every single day, or else I will find excuses not to do it. And if I give myself an excuse one day, I'll give myself an excuse the next day, and the next, and the next. And then pretty soon, weeks will pass, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that writing thing, but well, I gave myself an excuse, and every day seemed to have like a pretty good excuse for me not to write. So I guess the writing just didn't happen, So I say this after, having many attempts at trying to do something and failing, and realizing that the only way for me to really succeed is to just keep doing it every day, to not give myself excuses. And if it happens that one day that I don't write, that I'm not going to beat myself up for it, and I'll just come back to it the next day, and it's fine. Because I've gone through the process of actually like failing at it, realizing what had worked, and then giving myself a break when life doesn't work out the way that I want it to, and I'm not able to sit down and like put in some writing. So that's all I have for today. I just really want to. I think like I said before, I think it's really important that we all journal. We all kind of like dig into what's going on inside of our brains, because I think there's a lot in there that if we just step back and think about what it is that we're, what our thoughts actually are, that I think all of us will come to a I guess common sense, so to speak, of what we actually think about what's going on in the world, what we actually think about our characters in in our stories, that we'll actually have like a moment of calm and of understanding, and of just like like analyzing what it is to be human. And yeah, so that's all I got. So yeah, wash your hands and wear the mask, and social distance, and we will get through this. So until next time, bye.